We left Steve Jobs as a boy who felt unwanted, a boy who was adopted, a boy who carried a wound so deep that he did not even have words for it yet. But boys grow into men, and sometimes the wound that breaks a boy becomes the question that drives a man. And for Steve Jobs, that question was this: what is my purpose? Who am I really? And why am I here? This is the story of Steve Jobs the Seeker, the story of a young man who was so desperate to find meaning that he was willing to travel across the world, to question everything, to become lost in order to find himself. By the time Steve Jobs was a teenager, something was becoming clear. He was intelligent. He was creative. He was obsessed with building things, but he was also restless, angry, searching for something he could not name. He did not fit into normal school. He did not fit into normal life. He felt like an outsider everywhere he went. And so he started asking questions. Big questions. The kind of questions that teenagers are not supposed to ask. What is the point of life? What does it mean to be successful? What is real? What is fake? How do you know what matters? Most teenagers ask these questions and then move on. They grow up. They get jobs. They accept the world as it is. But Steve Jobs could not move on. These questions haunted him. They kept him awake at night. They made him feel like he was different from everyone else, like there was something wrong with him for caring so much about finding answers. In his teenage years, Steve discovered something that changed him. He discovered Buddhism, and not in a casual way. Not like reading a book and thinking it was interesting. He became obsessed. He read everything he could find about Buddhism, about meditation, about enlightenment, about the idea that there is a deeper reality hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. He learned that Buddhism teaches you to question, to doubt, to not accept anything just because someone tells you it is true. And Steve loved this, because his whole life he had been questioning, doubting, refusing to accept things. Finally, there was a philosophy that said, that is good. That is the path to wisdom. But there was a problem. Steve could read about Buddhism, but he could not truly understand it from books. He needed to experience it. He needed to feel it. He needed to go to where Buddhism came from, to Asia, to India, to find the teachers who lived this way. And so, when Steve Jobs was a young man, barely out of his teenage years, he made a decision that shocked everyone around him. He decided to drop out of college and travel to India. Think about what this means. He had just started at Reed College, a good college, the kind of place that was supposed to lead to a good job and a good life. But Steve looked at college and he saw something false. He saw people studying things that did not matter to them. He saw teachers teaching things they did not believe in. He saw a system designed to make you into a machine, not to help you become yourself. And he said, no, I will not do this. He walked away from college. He told his parents he was leaving, and he traveled to India to find answers. His parents were confused. His friends thought he was crazy. Society said, you are throwing your life away. You are making a terrible mistake. But Steve knew something that they did not know. He knew that sometimes the path that looks right to everyone else is the path that destroys your soul. And he was not willing to destroy his soul for security. When Steve Jobs arrived in India, he was searching for enlightenment. He thought he would find a great teacher, someone who would give him the answers to all his questions, someone who would show him the meaning of life. But what he found was different. He found poverty that was deeper than anything he had ever imagined. He found suffering that was overwhelming. He found people with almost nothing, living with more peace than the rich people back in America. He wandered through India. He sat with spiritual teachers. He meditated. He fasted. He tried to empty his mind of all the questions and doubts and confusion. And nothing happened. He did not become enlightened. He did not find the answer he was looking for. Instead, he found something else. He found disappointment. He realized that you cannot travel to enlightenment. You cannot find it in a distant place or with a distant teacher. You cannot buy it or download it or learn it from a book. If enlightenment exists, it has to come from inside, from your own life, from your own struggle. So Steve came back to America, and he was still searching, still confused, still asking questions. He did not have the answers. He had barely finished college. He had no clear direction. He was just a young man, trying to figure out who he was. But something had changed in him during those travels. Something deeper. He had learned that it was okay to question. It was okay to be different. It was okay to refuse to follow the path that society said you should follow. He had learned that searching for meaning was not a waste of time. It was not selfish or stupid. It was brave. And he had learned that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. When Steve came back to California, he still did not know what he wanted to do with his life. But he was open. He was searching. He was willing to try things that other people thought were crazy. He worked different jobs. He took a calligraphy class because he thought it was beautiful. He hung around with artists and philosophers and people who thought differently. And he was still broken inside. He was still that adopted boy. He was still searching for proof that he belonged somewhere, that he mattered. But now he understood something new. He understood that his searching was not a weakness. It was a strength. His refusal to accept easy answers, his willingness to ask hard questions, his ability to see things differently than other people. These were gifts, not curses. And then something happened that would change everything. He met a man named Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was a brilliant engineer. He loved building computers. He was fascinated by technology. And Steve Jobs looked at this man, and he looked at computers, and something clicked. He did not see computers the way other people saw them, as tools for calculating, as machines for business. He saw them as a way to express beauty, a way to create art, a way to make something that was both powerful and beautiful at the same time. And he realized something. The spiritual search he had been on, the quest to find meaning, it was not separate from technology. It was connected. It was all part of the same thing. What if you could build a computer that was so beautiful that it would make people feel something? What if you could create technology that had a soul? And in that moment, Steve Jobs the seeker found what he was looking for. Not the answer, but the question. The right question. How do you build something that is beautiful and powerful at the same time? How do you create technology that reflects the best part of being human? How do you make something that people love? This is what the spiritual search had taught him. This is what the journey to India had prepared him for. It was not about finding enlightenment in a monastery. It was about bringing enlightenment to his work. It was about creating computers that were not just smart, but beautiful. It was about building technology that had a human soul. And so Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple Computer in a garage with almost no money. But Steve Jobs brought something to that garage that most engineers did not have. He brought the soul of a seeker. He brought the understanding that what you build should be beautiful, that design matters, that the user experience matters, that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. This is the lesson of Steve Jobs the Seeker. Your confusion is not your enemy. Your questions are not a sign of weakness. Your refusal to accept easy answers is your greatest strength. Because the people who change the world are not the ones who follow the path. They are the ones who question the path, who wander, who search, who refuse to settle. Steve Jobs, the adopted boy, became Steve Jobs the Seeker, and eventually became Steve Jobs the Creator. And it all started with his willingness to not know the answers, to be lost, to search. Watch the next video to see how this search, this obsession with beauty and perfection, would drive him to create the Macintosh, and how that creation would begin to fill the void that adoption had left inside him. Thank you for listening to Lessons Written in Pain. The story of Steve Jobs continues. We have come to the end of today's talk. But before you close this screen and go back to the noise of the world, let this old man ask one small thing from you. If these words touched even a corner of your heart, if even one sentence made you feel you are not alone, then do two small things for me. First, press that red button below and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it tells me my voice reached one more soul before I leave this world. Second, touch the like button once, just once. It helps this message travel to someone else who is sitting in the dark tonight, searching for light. And if you really want to make this old man smile, write one line in the comment box. Anything. Even just, I am listening. Because when I read that, I will know the fire has been passed on. Thank you, my child. Go now and become the person you were born to be. I will be here tomorrow night, same time, waiting for you. Subscribe so the elder's voice never dies. Like so someone else finds light tonight. Comment one word, listening.